Please welcome Sean Lane with ProServe Pools.
Hey, thanks, Diane. Hey, good morning, everyone. My goal in the next 40 minutes or so is to hopefully help CAMs who I think have a tremendous job. We on the trade side, we always think that you guys have the hardest job in the business, and then also board members to share with you our experience about what's really important from a legal perspective, and also very importantly, a moral perspective. I really want to get that point across in today's message. I work with about 100 commercial properties we support on a daily basis, and we're trying to get this word out. So our goal is to help you pass more inspections, and in addition to, and more importantly, be moral while you're doing that. So my experience goes back to, does everyone remember when the first Tom Cruise Top Gun movie came out? That's when I got in that's when I was first exposed to commercial pools, and that was back in 1986. That was an awesome year for sure. Just got my driver's license, so that experience, a tremendous amount has changed ethically in what we do to ensure the safety of swimmers. And so in today's session, that's what we really want to get across. Our company moves from just the build mode, which is a very short period of time, compared to the lifetime of caring for, and that's a key word, caring for that pool that protects swimmers. And so we go all the way through. We have a customer that we've had for 38 years. That's a long time. That's a lot longer than most marriages. And so what comes with that is you get to see how the industry changes. So in this 1 hour, I'm going to share with you a little bit about how the inspectors think in our area. So we service from the southeast Volusia County up to Palm Coast. And in this area, I give a lot of praise to the integrity and the thoughtfulness of our inspectors here. If you form a relationship with them, as opposed to any kind of animosity, it's amazing what happens. They really want the same thing we all want, which is safety. And they've got a job to do. So I hope to get that apart in the description of this course to help you with that. I would go back to a mindset. I serve on 2 boards, so I'm like you. I don't know how many board members versus CAMs are on this. CAM, you're a manager. I'm a manager. I got 30 team members I'm managing. And so I have a hat of a manager. I have a hat of profitability, a profit and loss statement, all of those kinds of things. As a board member, I serve on the charity board of 2 charities, one of which I started 16 years ago. So I have a moral responsibility for that one, just like I do in running a company and taking care of my team members. That's the same mindset I would ask you to take when it comes to your pool. Make sure that you understand that that's not a cost center, that's a valuable asset to your residents, or if you're a condo manager, to that condo or that apartment complex, whatever it is you're managing. Whoops. So let's roll through. So some of the objectives. We'll talk through the purpose and scope of the inspections that only come 2 days a year. What the most common violations are. And here's the easy part. It's awesome. It's so easy. Fix them. And they're easy to fix. They're not hard. How to create a checklist. Good news is that word create, you don't have to create it. They're going to hand it to you. And it's so easy. The legal liability of kicking the can. Be very wise about that. Just be wise and be ethical. And then the number 5 is fostering a culture of ethical responsibility. It's not about cutting costs. Take that out of your mindset. It's not about cutting costs. So I commend you for taking 40 minutes here and walking through this. you're with a network of folks that seriously want to make improvements. And I can tell you the health department in our area we serve has definitely done that. So the Department of Health is here to protect, they've adopted a sanitation and safety standards for public pools. So the good news is we don't have to think about it. It's in writing. It's called the 64E. If you go back to your last health inspection, or if you Google Chapter 64E-9, it'll pull up a 15-page document, and that's the law. So that's the law. They're not guidelines. It's the law. And the good news is it's simple. This law covers all public pools, from HOAs to hotels, apartments, small communities, and make sure that you've got a copy of that. That'll help a lot. So if you look down there, the Florida Department of Health, they tell us right on their website what their goal is. It's a new day in public health. The Florida Department of Health works to protect, promote, and improve the health of our people in Florida through integrated state, county, and community efforts. So there are real people like us that walk out there, and they may inspect a few pools each day to ensure that we're all healthy. So they're our friends. So the inspections, they'll come out and inspect restaurants, doctor's offices, our water supply. So let's pause for just a moment. Would you be upset if the city you live in did not adhere to the code on the water that our children drink? Yes, it'd be on the news fast, right? I mean, they'd be all over them. Everybody'd be reporting, it'd be on Facebook. Keep that mindset when it comes to your property. We don't want us to ever be on Facebook. The service provider does it, the property doesn't. So as you're going through and you sit back and you go, well, should we repair this or not? The answer is yes. Think of it that way. They generally come twice a year. So remember, that's 2 days out of 365 days. So my advice, my counsel, my experience is do not allow those 2 days to be the only time that you're serious about the health and beauty and safety of that pool. You need to have practices in place, which I'll cover in a few minutes. Now, the third case is, and that's why I've got this nice lady sitting there. You can see the seriousness in her face. We call them the noodle ladies, where they do their aerobics in the water. She's real serious about that pool. And sometimes she will get a burr and she'll decide to make a phone call. And by law, the health department has to come out once she makes that phone call. It doesn't even have to be a complaint. It could be a question, and she wants to have someone to come on site and confirm it. So, just be aware that that's a trigger that will bring. Once that occurs, that's way beyond when the inspection occurs. So you want to prevent Nancy here from making that phone call. And I'll walk you through some examples. Now, even if she makes the phone call, the pool could be perfectly fine. And that gives a lot of credibility to your department, because believe me, the health department does keep logs on all of this. So let's now move to what are the top violations and what are their impacts? And I've got a little video here I want to show you. This is a good one. So common violations are health safety violations. This was a property where I did an inspection, and a nice board member met me on the property, and I asked him to do some testing for me and some real life, hey, is this place safe? Let's see what he finds out. So that was one of the most fun activities I took. That's what I get to do on a daily basis. I probably do, I don't know, 3 or 4 commercial pool inspections a week. And that was a property where there were some minor safety items that need to be addressed. So, but we will get pushback. So we will give estimates to properties to replace what Stan just pulled apart with his hand. and a board member, the CAM may have to go to the board member comes back and says, oh, we just replaced that a few years ago. Don't waste your time doing that. Be ethical. That's unethical. Make sure what you don't want to do is ever have Morgan & Morgan come down on us and have us sitting in the witness stand and say, yes, we did give an estimate, because that's our moral responsibility. Make sure that all of those safety items are approved. Get pre-approval, because you know it's coming, that some of those items just need to be replaced once a year, and get it done. Another one is what's called the shepherd's hook. Now, in this case, notice how there's only one bolt. Make sure they're double bolted, so you have two bolts. That way, when one fails, if it fails, you've got the second one. Just like in racing, if you've ever raced before, it's called being race ready. Redundancy, if you've been in the military, that's real important. Just simple items like that. That's on the checklist that the health inspector comes. And let's say the inspector missed it last time. It doesn't change that it needs to be addressed. Or let's say that you're a property that doesn't get inspected. You're under, the minimum requirements, and the inspectors don't come out. That doesn't change that you still want to provide a safe environment, and that the law, the Florida statute, says that you have to meet code. So please make sure and address those items. Let me move to a second violation that's very common. You may have never seen this before. This is a controller, not a feeder. This is a controller. And what this controller does is it controls feeders. So when a feeder breaks or a controller malfunction doesn't work, now your pool or your spa is being dosed manually, which is against code. So when you find, this is another common item that gets written up in a health report. So make sure and inspect and ensure that your service team is replacing these, giving you estimates, and they're replaced. I would recommend that you not wait for board approval. Once it's broken, you go ahead and get pre-approval now for feeders and controllers, so that when they do go bad, because they're a wearable part, that they can be replaced immediately. You don't want these to go out on July 3rd, and then on the 4th of July, you're still waiting for approval. That's not really ethically, morally correct to do. So get those approved. Another item, and this is one that I missed. This is a violation where my company, we had a pool closed because of this. This is a 12-inch by 12-inch main drain grate in a commercial pool. And if you look, actually, you don't even have to look closely. You can see it, and I missed it. There's a crack in that main drain cover, and the inspector found it when she did her inspection. I give her a lot of praise for that. I think I'll call her Eagle Eye. So check your main drain cover and ensure that it's not cracked. The Virginia Graham Baker Act, where a young lady unfortunately passed away, caused a big movement in our industry. And so we are very serious about it. We will not service pools if these drains are not fixed. We will not hold the liability. And ethically, we have had to unfortunately cancel service on pools that will not approve having it fixed. Don't wait for the inspector. Again, Morgan & Morgan could really do some damage to all of us. So this is an example of a drain cover that needs to be replaced. All right, let's move to prevention. So the great news, to pass inspections is really not difficult, not at all. It just requires a little bit of diligence, a little bit of knowledge. And the other good news is the health department gives us the rules. They give us the checklist. And then if we don't understand the checklist, then we can go to the rules, which I'll show here in just a minute. So let me show you an inspection report. So this is an inspection report that if your property is large enough units, then you'll get twice a year inspections from your health department, and they will email this report to you. This is the checklist. So if you look at the 48 items there, most of them are self-explanatory. However, if they're not, the health department is happy to review it with you. I would go to your service provider and have them do an on-site kind of review, make sure everything is good. You can also, like I said, download the 64-E 64E-9, excuse me. And that will give you the further explanations on all of these pieces that's inside of this health report. Thankfully, on this one, we passed everything. That's great news. We're very thankful for that. To go back to the 64E-9, that PDF, if you Google it right now, 64E-9 is only 15 pages. The great news, you don't need all those 15 pages. There's only a subset of that has, after the pool's been built, you just now need to keep it within code. Let me give you a few options on how to manage this process. One part is you could have your service company that's maintaining your pool request that they do a routine preventative checklist. That's a nice way. They're the folks that are loving on that pool and taking care of it, keeping the tile clean the filter. So they have a viewpoint that really you couldn't get. Or you could have your maintenance team, if they're maintaining the pool, the person closest to that pool is really the human being. There's no AI involved in any of that can tell you what really needs to be done. Now, let me move to experience. To be fair and realistic, a good maintenance team with ethics that's keeping the pool blue and clean, they do a lot of different tasks. And to be fair to them, they probably haven't heard of or remember 64E-9. If they do remember it, they said, well, I think I heard about that when I took my CPO class 5 years ago or whenever it was. To be fair to them, they may not have a thorough understanding of the code that's in there. So you may need to call an outside provider. And even with that, it's always good. Like on our team, we have redundancy. So we have a quality assurance management team that goes out and puts a second set of eyes on it, because one person can make a mistake and hopefully two people don't make a mistake. So you as a CAM, you may have an interest and you may want to do some of that, but definitely get that done. Let me move to the inspection log. This is absolutely unethical and a pet peeve of mine. I don't even like that word, but when I do a pool inspection, I believe you can tell a lot about someone's integrity and their diligence just looking at the log, just that log. So in this log, take a look at it closely. I'm going to circle something here. This is a log with inspection I did just about a month ago. And notice right here at the top right, this pool technician who is responsible for the safety of this pool, this is a monthly log. So each month you bring a new log in. And in this case, they decided that they were going to use the same piece of paper for 3 months. That's unethical. The second thing is, look at this. This is day 1 through 31 of a month. Okay. Well, there's not 31 days in each of those months. And their contract says that they come Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They do not come 7 days a week. So if your grandmother stayed at a facility and the doctor or the nurse falsified the care of your grandmother, would you think that they were ethical and doing a good job or not? So really take a moment. One takeaway from this today, if you want to pass inspections and be ethical and moral, go look at the log. See if the truth is being told. The other part about this, and this is a violation, by the way, it's a violation because 1, it's a lie. 2, you've got 3 months where you need a separate piece of paper for each month. And then also over here, notice how there's no details on what's been done at this pool. Nothing. There's nothing there. So what we would recommend is something more like this. So this log tells the truth. This contract is for 3 days a week. And notice how there's white space in there on certain days because there was no testing being done. It's the truth. If you tell the truth on a log, then you can troubleshoot and find out the true health of something. It also says initials over to the right as to RW is the technician that did all this work. And then if you look at all the detail to the right of that, it says exactly what was administered, what repairs were made, what chemicals were added, what maintenance items were done while the technician was there. And then at the very bottom, you can see dates at the very bottom down here as to what the chemistry of the pool was, not just the chlorine and the pH. That's what you're looking for. That kind of diligence will enable you to pass inspections, or at least greatly improve your chances. And if there is an issue and you have to prove diligence, this log sheet, we keep 12 months. And so we would recommend to you that you keep 12 months of logs on your property. That's what we suggest. So you can always prove diligence. All right, I'll keep going. Turn this pen off. Legal consideration. So the Florida statutes of the law grants the Florida Department of Health duties and powers regarding the safety and health of the public, and they give them enforcement authority. So what that means is they can prevent a pool from being opened, they can close a pool immediately, and you can't reopen that pool. You can't go back out there and take their sign off and reopen it. That's illegal. So please don't do that. Insurance companies are now following the health department. So I'll give you an example. About a month ago, we had a 20-year customer. We don't service the pool. It doesn't matter. They called us and asked us. They got a letter from their insurance company stating that they were going to be canceled. And the reason for that goes back to that Virginia Graham-Baker Act. So they needed a letter that stated that their main drain grates, that 12 by 12 main drain grate that I showed you before, had been replaced. So we of course do that as a licensed certified pool contractor in the state of Florida. We are the only a CPC is licensed. A plumber can't do this. A maintenance guy can't do it. A CPO cannot do it. You have to have a licensed contractor sign the affidavit and turn that into the insurance company. So make sure that you've got that documentation for your insurance company. Once we provided that, everything was fine. So let me make another statement that just like you wouldn't hire a you would only hire a licensed electrician to do electrical work, and you'd only hire a licensed roofer to do roofing work. You can only hire a licensed certified pool contractor to do repairs and installations. Be cautious about that. And as a board member, if you go back to the Florida statutes, you as board members, you know that you have a fiduciary responsibility, to maintaining the pool correctly, and also a moral responsibility. So please keep that part in mind. Let's move to moral responsibility. I tell our team that we have a moral responsibility to the safety of the swimmers, just like a doctor does. We may not have a 12-year degree or whatever it takes to become a doctor, but that doesn't change morals. So I include the board in that mindset. I met with a board member, a CAM 2 weeks ago, and I said, your budget's wrong. Florida statute says your budget's wrong. Whether you have a budget to replace a feeder, you can't have that pool open with that feeder broken. So please keep that in mind. And if you're a CAM, please take that back to your board that that we together support. Don't jeopardize the health of the swimmers over a legal risk. If the person that's responsible for maintaining your community's pool sends you an estimate, ask for the repair. Don't kick the can. Don't say it's not in the budget. Please, for the safety of the swimmers, get that done. When issues come up, then a board member, your role is honesty and transparency. An example would be that your pool has an outbreak of black algae. Well, if it's an older finish, you probably got black algae and you can't even see it yet. But in the summertime, it's going to be more prone. To wintertime, a little less. So don't wait to have that treated. You have a moral responsibility. Get that treated. Get pre-approval on chemical feeders. So when the health department comes out, they're not writing you up as a violation. They track all that data. It's in their computer. And so they know the properties that have incidents that they don't repair. And they know the properties that work very quickly and diligently You get a lot of more grace when you're that property. That's the property you want to be. You want to be the property that when the health inspector comes out, that they know you have a track record of taking care of what needs to be taken care of. So appreciate, let me try to say this smoothly, I guess. Appreciate when your service company or your maintenance team, or if you've got a single person that's cleaning your pool, appreciate when they come to you and bring it to your attention that there's a problem. That will help you pass the next inspection. As opposed to the opposite, we document everything. So when the health inspector's out there, and we've sent estimates in the past and we've talked to the CAM, we're going to be very straightforward about that. We have a reputation and a moral responsibility. So just remember that. That's how it works. And then make sure you get it fixed. That's how you build trust with both the health department and also with your community. So let's talk about an action plan. Let's go back to that checklist. So the good news is there is a checklist. This, if you haven't seen it before, this is a 2-page inspection report. This is page 1, and on here it gives some parameters on the pool, and then it also gives the items that the inspector is looking for while they're there. Print this checklist out, and I would also print out the 64E-9, which will explain some areas that maybe are not explained in the points here, and just go through your pool deck, your fence. The fence is the #1 item that the health department has told us that they're focusing on because of the safety of the swimmer. Excuse me, the safety of younger children and infants, and they want to make sure that it's self-latching. So make sure and focus on that too. And this is an example. This is the first page of the 64E-9. And again, only a subset of this your maintenance team would need to become familiar with because the pool is already built. So the great news is you don't have to learn the whole document. But if I was a CAM, I would have both of these printed out for my maintenance team or for your service team. Make sure that your service team is helping. Really a service team, my company's responsibility is to notify the CAM of what we see so that it can be addressed. We don't want marks on our inspection report. And honestly, we still get marks. We do. We still get them, but we don't want them. So we would prefer to go ahead and send an estimate, get the estimate approved, get whatever it needs to be done addressed. That's how it works. So the compliance strategy, remember, you're only inspected 2 days out of the year, 2. So that's not enough. It's many times that a property will tell me, well, we pass our inspections, everything's good. And I'm standing there and I'm like, no, it's not. That inspector was here 3 months ago. Oh, and let's be fair too. Just like you have turnover with maintenance teams and we have turnover with CAMs and turnover with boards, the health department has the same challenge. It's gotten a little bit better recently in the labor market, but it's still out there. So be aware that a new inspector is not going to catch everything. And it still falls back to us to look and make sure that we're meeting code. So a compliance strategy of saying that they come twice a year is not a good strategy. A better strategy is to have your checklist, have your documentation, and you can show a lot of diligence with that. And the inspector will really appreciate that too. Let's talk about continuing education. So go back, if your maintenance team is responsible for your pool today, they may have gotten their CPO 12 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. That's just a weekend course, a 2-day course. So make sure that they're continuing their education. There's a lot of new technologies that have come about, and you want to make sure that they have access to that. That technology, I'll give you a couple examples as to what we've seen with technology improvements. there are chemical maintenance programs that you can use now that will greatly reduce the number one complaint with a commercial pool. So think about what your number one complaint is. I'll tell you what ours is. Ours used to be dirty tile. Used to be. It's gone. It's music to my ears that we don't receive those phone calls anymore. I don't think we've gotten, any stronger in scrubbing tile. I think I know we use products today and maintenance today that helps with that. So make sure your maintenance team educates themselves on those types of new technologies too. That part's important. Okay, let me walk through a few key takeaways that I hope will be helpful. I think the most important takeaway, if there's one word that I've probably said 20 times, is moral responsibility. So please take that away. Number two, don't think that the 2 days out of the 365 is enough. It's not. Please, it's not. Our government can't do everything for us. Think of it that way. They cannot do everything for us. We have a responsibility for the safety of the swimmers, and we need to be doing that, not our government. For properties that are exempt. So on this call, there's probably properties that are exempt from physical inspections coming out. You can still call them and they will come out. So do that. Let the person responsible for your pool know that you support them, keeping the pool safe. It's very common. Pool people don't like bringing bad news about something being broke. They get real nervous. It's just the nature of pool people. We don't like it. So be thankful when they do. Be thankful they bring something to your attention. Because I tell you what happens, a property will complain, well, they never told me. Well, they didn't tell you because they were scared. That's the honest to God's truth. They didn't bring it to you because they didn't want to deal with it. So if you have an open door kind approach, then they're more likely to help you better. If the person who takes care of cleaning your pool and maintaining your pool is knowledge or is licensed, I would still get a third party to help. A second set of eyes is very helpful. So make sure and think about that. Let me bring up a couple of points here. All right, so here's an example. This pool that I went and did inspection. So I'll give just a case study that happened last week. The pool leaks. So if your pool leaks, look around. This pool was known for having black algae. It was known for having black algae because it's got a leak and it's got constant fresh water and they can't keep the chemistry right. And in the middle of summer, if your pool leaks, it's almost impossible not to get black algae, almost impossible. So if you look around, look for evidence right there. The ground is, first of all, the ground's soaking wet over by the filter collection tank. This is underneath the filter collection tank. We can visually see it. And you can see the water coming out right there inside that circle. So look for areas of challenges that you'll see. Let me give you another example. Take a look at this. Go look at the filter grids. If the inspector saw this, do you think the inspector is going to be alerted that this technician doesn't properly maintain this pool, doesn't care? These filters are disgusting. When we cleaned those grids off, pulled those grids out and took a 5-gallon bucket of sludge out of the bottom of that filter collection tank. The inspector wrote it up, closed the pool. So look for those items. Let me give you a third example. This third example is the worst. This is a chlorine vat, so it's really a trash can that the industry puts chlorine in, and that chlorine gets fed via a feeder per code back into the pool to keep it sanitary and safe. Well, this is a trash can. If you look, that's not yellow chlorine. Chlorine's yellow. That's dirt. So what's happening is when I arrived to do an inspection on this pool, dirt was being sucked out of the chlorine vat where there's no chlorine in there and pushing it right into that pool. So these are some real life examples of what goes on behind the scenes. Now, if you walked up to that pool, it was blue. All three of these pools were blue when I walked up to them, all three of them. The first one had black algae. The second one, the filters were putting a strain on the pump and it wasn't getting proper flow. The third one with the trash can was injecting dirt as opposed to chlorine back into the pool. The third property said, "Thank you for coming out." never solve the problem. That's unethical. So look for those items with your pools and make those corrections. So let me move now. Well, I'll pause for just a moment. I think we've got time for questions, or do I need to go right into the? I think we've got just a couple of minutes for questions, and then I can move into the exam.
Yes, let's do that. Hey, well, we had a comment. Commercial pools in Sarasota must have the log entered completely for everyday county law for anybody that's in the Sarasota area.
That's
Um,
true. That's statewide. Actually, that's statewide. Every day needs to be checked. That's correct.
Perfect. We got smart people on today. Anybody have any, excuse me, anybody have any questions before we jump into our exam?
Someone in the questions did ask, I have an issue with one of my pools in the community. Our out of community members are jumping the fence or damaging the fence to enter the pool area when closed. We are in the process of getting proposals to install a new fence. Do you have suggestions to get this addressed?
All you can do is if someone is breaking the law, so if you got a locked fence and they jump it, they're breaking the law. So good question. I mean, we see that too. No, I mean, my suggestion is you can just do your due diligence, and it sounds like you're doing a great job at doing that. You post a sign. You're probably not rated for nighttime swimming anyway, so you put dawn to dusk on the sign, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, the only thing I can recommend from a CAM perspective would be if it's really a continued issue, depending on your community. I had one in the past where we had this issue with teenagers trying to get in at night. And so we asked the local police department if they could do drive-bys, and they did a few drive-bys every evening as, you know, the patrol car was in the area. Another suggestion is you could put in a camera. And you know, hopefully you get the person, you know, on camera, and you can always, you know, share it in the community and ask for someone to identify the person. That kind of gets a little shaky, so that would be, you know, dependent on what the board would, how the board would feel about that. But those are really your only two options.
We had a property, Lindsay, one time that put up a foghorn. I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, what would happen was it was motion detected. This was back before
Oh
cameras,
geez.
but it was motion detected. It would turn the lights on, and this recording would be loud that would say, "Stop! You are not authorized to enter this area," and that might have helped them. I'm not sure. I do want to
Okay,
go
well,
back to the gentleman in Sarasota. You're right. The log needs to be entered every day. I speak to the health department about this, and what I tell them is we're not going to lie. No matter what the code is, we're not going to lie and fill it out every day. So the other option is we train a maintenance staff, and they test the water on the days that we're not there. But in no case is it ethical to lie and put down a reading when you're not there those days. That's my response.
Okay, we have another question that says, does 64E-9 have state guidelines for required signage?
Yes, if you right, the change. If you see a sign that states the way you can tell if the sign is got the new code in it is one simple item. It says maximum depth on it, so you can go to Amazon and buy it. Go to your pool service provider and buy it. All of the distributors now stock, or they have for since the code change, they stock that sign. They're not expensive.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions coming in for everybody that wants to contact Sean with ProServe Pools? I put their information in the chat, and let's do the exam.
Okay,
And everybody,
cool.
for those of you that have not done this with us before, go ahead and put your response to the questions into the chat, and I'll read them to Sean, and then he'll go through them, and that way we can know that you guys are paying attention and got educated today. Okay, Sean, we got C's coming in for the first one.
Got it. There we go. You guys know it. How often are routine Department of Health inspections typically conducted? How many times a year? That's right, 2.
Okay,
That leaves you
we got,
363.
yeah.
Make sure to take care of those other days. What's the key reason to maintain inspection logs? So remember I showed those examples. So it's to help avoid the violations, the red marks. And it's also because we have a moral responsibility for the safety and swimmers and protect the equipment and the pool finish also. So it's about the safety, and then also that's a big investment. What Florida statute mostly directs to DOH compliance for associations, if I can say that word. Florida statute 718. Man, you guys got A fast. Good job.
They're very fast. Yeah, it's like Family Feud.
Let's see. Lindsay, thank you for number 5. A moral responsibility of board members includes. Look at that. See, that's exactly right. So if go down, here's my challenge to everyone on here. Go down and take a look at that chlorine vat. One, make sure it's got chlorine in it. You'll be surprised how many times it doesn't. But make sure it's not dirty. Have them clean it. Look for salt in there too. Tell them you want that salt cleaned out. That salt's bad for that pool. Okay, next. What's the benefit of having a pre-inspection checklist? Yay. Good job. There's that checklist. The good news is the health department will give it to you. They'll hand it right to you. They'll love it. They'll love that you're asking for it. If an association fails a DOH inspection, what can happen? Hey, it is.
I like number C, board resignation.
Well, we've had that too. Yeah, we've had that too.
We're out of here.
Well, yeah, we're not dealing with this mess anymore. If you're a board member, God bless you. You're doing a great job.
God bless
which
you.
of the following is a best practice for CAMs? That's right. If you're a CAM, I'm asking you, go down and look for that piece of paper. That piece of paper is going to tell you a lot about the service of that pool. It's going to tell you the diligence. Go look at it. It's not hidden. Ask for it. Why is vendor selection important for inspections? That's right. C. Make sure and give them some grace. Talk to them a little bit. Get to know them a little bit. Find out what they need. How can they make sure to keep your property running right? What role does transparency play in passing inspection? Trust. You want trust, and you want to be prepared. What's coming? Hurricanes coming, right? Get those trees trimmed. Well, Diane, Lindsay, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. And if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions? I'm going to put my or Sean rather's information at the end here because we've passed through with all the quiz answers. Lindsay, anything to add?
Just please follow the instructions that I'm about to put in the chat as well for the continuing education credit. You will want to send me an email, lindsay@yourcoastalliving.com, and the subject line will be passing the Florida Department of Health inspection. And then in the email, please put your CAM license number as well as your name as it's stated on your CAM license. And what I forgot to say earlier, if you have, like some people have two last names, please in the email say that those are both last names and not a middle name and a last name, because we're having some issues with reporting where I'm thinking it's a middle name instead of a last name. So if you have two last names, please, state that they're both last names in the email so we make sure we report that correctly.
And I got your message and I have forwarded that to Sean already. Sean, you've got a message in your inbox. Any last words? Any final thoughts?
No,
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. We wrapped up too early. Enjoy the rest. Also say this. Will be Mindy for the reminder. We do videotape all of these presentations and we put them out in next week's webinar newsletter. We sent a link with the links to where you can go on YouTube to share this video and presentation with your board members and your fellow CAMs. So be looking for that. And please stay tuned for the next webinar Wednesday, which will happen on September 24th with 2 continuing education credits currently. So thanks everyone for being here. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you,
Have
everyone.
a great day. Thanks, everyone.